Tiff and Rach here.
We are the Nobodies, and this is our podcast. Or as we lovingly call it, we're letting you in on a little secret here, the Poop Cast. And the reason is because we are literally in a closet right now attached to a bathroom. And if we wanted to, we could do this from the toilet. However, currently, we are just sitting in the closet.
We're both clean and clothed.
Clean and clothed, no
poop. But nonetheless, this is, oh my God, day 11 of our ATSI training.
Is it?
Yeah, it's day 11.
God.
Day 11.
Okay, so we're going over day 10.
Yeah. So we're also prepped for a quiz and our model session for today and the weekend.
Yeah.
Yesterday was our exchange, Tiff and I,
We gave each other a spiral. Good spiral.
I had a real interesting experience with Tiffany. Trying to take away from the body reading, which is our anatomy train's way of trying to see in the body without seeing in the body.
We don't have an x-ray machine. We don't have x-ray eyes, but we are looking at relationships between tissue and how people are held or imprisoned or bondaged in
into their pattern,
into their fascial patterning. Yeah.
And we might have spoken about this before, but it's nice to reiterate it. Where you land without thought is something that we call home in this kind of world of work. And what most people don't necessarily, it's an unconscious place, and I say that it's without thought that you land in these kind of places. They may be combined things from injuries or postures that you've held for long periods of time, but they are a combination of everything that takes you to a place where that's where your tissue is settled. And we're trying to take people out of those things into a more elevated place that serves them better for both function, emotional state, in all of the ways.
Yeah, elevates them. And the thing is, we do all of these other movement type tests to see also, is your home, is it fascially held or locked, or is some of it maybe psychological or neurological or having to do with a chemical system, right? And of course we can't really parse all that out and know that, but it does tell us, oh, okay, this person is sitting into this pattern. Part of it is fascial, part of it is not, because this movement test showed me there is mobility in that space.
And maybe this is like an unconsciously emotionally held thing for them where they're, carrying it around with them based on what they're feeling.
Have you ever seen a super confident walk into the room with their shoulders forward and their head down?
Not generally.
Not usually.
Like, all different types of emotions have shape. And we are just we're taking them for what they are, and we're not trying to psychoanalyze them, but that is what
that's not our job.
That is not our job.
Scope, folks.
Yes. Just know your scope and stay within it. Yep. We are, so when I was doing the body read on Tiffany, I was going into this place of kind of like the real things that I see with her pattern. But what ended up happening is I wanted to have one of our instructors that were new to our group this week, because she comes at things with a really nice and direct approach. She's very clear in sometimes the steps. Exactly. And where we have Tom, who is an absolute savant and gifted. And
he's a fascial high priest.
He really is.
We call Father Fascia.
Father Fascia. And it's one of those things where I wanted to have that step by step to see from the bottom to the top how this spiral line, which we're going to kind of parse out for you in a real, probably it will still confuse you because
I think we talked through it a couple pods ago.
Yes.
We did kind of go bottom to top with the wrapping double helix bits.
Yes.
Again,
it wraps around the body in multiple, like we have a left and right of the spiral line, but they cross paths onto the left if you're talking about your right spiral line, and vice versa.
It gets very soupy and soupy.
It does. It gets soupy for us, so we're not trying to, murder the audience here. And so my point being is I was trying to do this and parse it out in a way that was, attainable for me to look at all of Tiffany's parts. And I ended up not getting this other instructor. And Tom came by and he was like, "Do you need me?" And I was like, "Yes, I do. I need to be launched." And I started going through my step-by-step way. And then he's like, "But what's her main feature?" And then he was like, "Do you see this?" And I was like, yes, I see this. And he's like, you need to spend your time there. And I was like, oh yeah. This isn't like, as much as this is an educational, like, you know, time for me to like learn the actual technical ways of doing this work, I'm also treating a human. I'm treating somebody who I dearly love and want to see elevated on top of the fact that this is what she needs. And all of the other things I could see then when he was like, she's ready there in those other areas of her pattern to go on to those next sessions, which are deeper. We're going into the core. We're literally at this precipice of superficial being
huge chill.
Earthed. And then we are going on a dive. He likened it to being on a wooden toboggan when he was a child and being dumped off the cliff, essentially, where the whole toboggan goes forward because it's hard and then just dumps down and you're like going down a massive slope. And that's what we're doing. And this was the last opportunity to unwrap these fascial presents. Yes, exactly. So we spent some time in Tiffany's fascial secret pocket, and it was a really...
So full of sad.
But in such a way that needed to happen.
Yeah.
Like to let this next step be as fruitful as we want it to be.
And it's funny because normally when I have this experience, I also get emotional when I talk about it. But this particular place... it's just sad in there. Like, I'm not sad about it. Yeah. Like, I can't connect it to an experience. I can connect it. I could make stories connect to it for sure. But there was just a dark, gritty, miry place that she had to finesse and vector and chase. And she stayed with me and I stayed with her, even though there were times that I was frustrated and I wanted her to leave and I wanted to give up. And I cried my fucking eyes out. And I wasn't sad, though. There was just sad coming out of this place.
She had these giant elephant tears pouring down the sides of her face. And just in these times where some of these things happen, this is why some of this work is very difficult to articulate in words. Mm-hmm. Is that this other instructor that's joined us this week, she's lovely. And she's one of my fellow Canadians. And just as in the first session with Tiff, she came over and saw this need for her to be supported and brought down and having a second set of hands. And she just cradled her head. She first came and joined me where I was on her body. And then she came up and just cradled her head. And it was like so lovely to bring her down. I felt her come down with me. And it was really an important part of that session. Mm-hmm. And I'm realizing I don't have that. We don't always have a second set of hands or another energy in the room with us. And that's not the juju kind. That's just like having somebody else to kind of create a space or hold a container, because you don't always have that. And, you know, but having that there yesterday was really lovely. And really important to be reminded for me that it's not always about just seeing these steps and like from the bottom, this is the tilt and this is the thing I'm looking for and this is the rotation and this is the thing that I'm trying to unearth. I see it. I see that she's ready for those next steps. I see that what I did yesterday was the most effective time spent on that spiral line, even though it wasn't complete. Don't tell Kelly, but our other teacher, I didn't run all the lines.
Yeah.
I didn't do it. I looked at all of them and I gave them energy, my attention, but I didn't give
from that place of sads. And let me tell you, looking in the mirror today and feeling that space, first of all, I had a rib that would just kind of bounce when I moved down and to the left. That's no longer happening. And my belly button was drawn down and that has lifted. It is really interesting to see where the roots of these attachments are held and how they're affected, because it's not always where you think it would be. Even as the practitioner who knows that, it's still not always where you think it would be. As Ida Rolf said, our predecessor to Tom, where you think it is, it ain't.
Yes. And she also says it's not how deep you go, it's how you go deep. And
ain't that the truth?
It's like,
and you chase that little sad critter around.
I did, actually.
So gently.
I
and so determinedly in a way that I knew like you weren't giving up on me. And that felt so good.
Yeah. We got each other's fronts, sides, spirals, backs. We got them all. So.
We got each other's bits.
Yeah.
And the reason we're trying to elevate, not only for ourselves, is so that we can extend this elevation into our communities, into the world. Because as we become more comfortable in our own skin, more aware, more proprioceptive, we're then able to widen our net of not only influence, but capacity to love and be with others, because we're able to do that for ourselves. And it's a beautiful symbiotic cycle. And I'm just so fucking grateful to be in this with you. Like we know not only how much we've sacrificed to be here, but just how rare and how lucky it is that we're having this experience. And it really feels right. And it feels like something, looking back 5 years, I never would have guessed I'd be here.
Oh, never. I couldn't have, like, knowing what our origin stories were, this wasn't even on the radar.
Nope.
And, it was interesting at the beginning when Tom started to lay his hands on each of us as we were going through first term. He was alluding to all of these things about when we got to our 12 series and if we made it to third term and we were doing all these things, that he needs his people who are doing the practitioner work of this practice that we're in now to be elevated, because it requires so much maturity and energy in your body and attention that you can't be self-focused in the way that it's just this automatic thing. You can be he wants people to be intuitive, which means that they have to be in tune with themselves too.
To deeply know ourselves, to deeply know the anatomy of not only ourselves, but of many bodies.
Yes.
And to be able to be with what is.
Yes. Yeah, this is our hope that, the elevation of people, because, we're not here to talk about the downtrodens, but man, sometimes I think like the space that we are in a lot of places in the world where there's this external depression that feels like really everywhere, anxiety, and that space is real. This is a way for people to come back to themselves, to get closer to their more attuned and back to their roots for being the reason for being. Yes. And a wellness that can last for a lifetime.
Yeah. Woo, what a cast. What a pod.
What a poop cast.
Yeah. Happy Friday, y'all. I hope you're all out there paying attention. Maybe just take a few minutes today to take some nice deep breaths and to travel with your breath and see, where does it inflate and where does it feel stuck? Mm-hmm. Our gift to you. Happy weekend.
We appreciate your attention.
Attention is everything.
And we appreciate yours.
Tiff and Rach.